She was just 12 years old when she vanished from a farmhouse in Wallingford, Connecticut. Just 10 days after moving in with her father and stepmother, she disappeared in the middle of the night. Her parents, separated and estranged, weren't sure where she was. The police treated it as a runaway case, but something about that night didn't add up. This is her story.
Hi, I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Amy.
And you're listening to She Goes by Jane. At the end of this episode and every episode, we will be joined by a special guest who will read an original poem by Amy Baker about the women we're featuring. This week, we are joined by Sophia Powers.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Amy.
Welcome to another episode of She Goes by Jane. I'm dreading this one.
Yeah, so you briefly told me the age of the girl.
Yes, so we're talking about a missing 12-year-old. We tend not to go down that.
So I'm not really looking forward to this episode either, but here we are.
I mean, but I think, in this case, her story it has gotten some traction. There are some podcasts that are doing like full seasons of her story, so there is that, but I think it's just we can use our power as well to call attention to her story, because she is so close in age to us, and I don't know her story. I hadn't heard her story, so I think it's a good moment to call attention to her. Are you ready for this?
Sure.
Okay. When Donna got into her car on Saturday, June 18th, 1988, it's safe to assume that she was frustrated. Her ex-husband had moved to Wallingford, Connecticut less than 2 weeks earlier, and he had taken their 12-year-old daughter, Doreen, with them. Donna had never been to Wallingford before. A few days earlier, she'd had to call her ex's new wife, Sharon, to ask for directions to the farmhouse they were renting. She told Sharon then that she planned to pick up Doreen for the weekend on Friday unless work had called her in for a shift. But when she tried to reach the house that Friday, the phone just rang and rang and rang. No answer. Donna hoped Doreen would understand that she was coming late the next day. At 12, Doreen could be moody, which is no surprise for a preteen who is suddenly uprooted from the city and dropped into the countryside. As Donna drove the 30 or so minutes from her place in Waterbury, she could understand why Doreen hadn't been happy about the move. City sidewalks gave way quickly to long stretches of cornfields and pastures. Houses grew farther apart, swallowed up by trees and quiet. Waterbury wasn't exactly Manhattan, but compared to Wallingford, it certainly would feel like it. Finally, she turned onto Whirlwind Hill Road, easing along until the lilac Victorian farmhouse came into view. She pulled into the driveway, half expecting Doreen to burst through the door, eager to get home to where things were a little less strict, where her friends were nearby, and where she could just be herself again. Instead, Donna found her ex tinkering with the lawnmower in the side yard. Donna dreaded any interaction with him. Since their divorce nearly a decade ago, things had been rocky between them, particularly when it came to how each wanted to raise Doreen. "Is Doreen ready?" she might have called out. He didn't look up. "She's not here," he said. Donna blinked. "What do you mean she's not here?" "I thought she was with you," he said, still tinkering with the mower. The world seemed to tilt just slightly. The words didn't make sense. Was he saying Doreen was with her when she wasn't? The pieces slid together slowly, sickeningly. Doreen was gone, and no one had told her mother.
So that's a way to start.
Mm-hmm.
So they had shared custody of her, or was it just like an informal back and forth thing?
Yeah, so, things had always been tense between the two of them and how they shared Doreen's time, and things have in the past been complicated with that. But in this case, yes, he had custody of her at that moment.
Okay.
Right, and she was taking her for the weekend.
Okay.
Now, a child just doesn't simply disappear, despite what lots of law enforcement might say.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly not without someone noticing, not without someone deciding not to notice. Doreen Vincent was just 12 years old when she vanished from that farmhouse in Wallingford, Connecticut. But to understand how her disappearance could go unreported for days, you have to look at the world she came from, one split in two long before she was gone. Before we dig in, I want to offer a quick content note. This episode does include information about alleged sexual abuse and assault of minors, so please take care when listening. Now, again, we have to understand the world she's from, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about Donna and her history with her ex, Doreen's dad. So in 1975, when Donna was just 15 years old, she became pregnant with Doreen. Mark, at 19, was her first boyfriend. And according to an interview that Donna did with the Sticky Beaks podcast, the relationship between them was one-sided from the beginning. Donna didn't love him. In fact, she was often annoyed by him and his habit of checking up with her whenever she was out with friends. In the same interview, her family says he seemed very obsessed with Donna.
I mean, there's a little bit of an age difference there, too. And, like, now I'm just picturing this 27 or 28-year-old pulling up and looking for her daughter. Like,
yeah,
how young that is, too, you know? So,
right.
Both women were talking about, you know, a child and this young woman that needs help. But do we know how long they were together?
Only for a few years. I mean, she gets pregnant relatively quickly into their relationship. I can really get the sense that she didn't really see this as like a serious relationship. This was her first boyfriend. She's 15 years old.
Right.
Just wants to hang out with her friends. He's 19, a bit older.
Yeah, I mean,
should not be dating a 15-year-old.
It doesn't seem like a huge age difference, but in those ages, it's so much of an age difference.
Right. Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, because, like, you know, I am 4 years younger than my husband. We met as adult human beings. Right. And, like, now there's not a lot of difference between us, but
had 15, you been 15?
19?
Your 15 to his 19 would have been very different as far as just, like,
what we're doing, what we're experiencing. Yeah. And so he also is like very controlling of her. Like she goes out with friends. He's like checking up on her. And she's like really frustrated and annoyed by this is the sense that I get from her interviews that she did with Sticky Beaks. Now, no one in Donna's family seemed particularly enamored with Mark. They clocked him as someone that they felt was manipulative, someone who caused trouble. But with Donna pregnant, like the families pressured them to get married.
Okay.
Now, Donna's parents are the ones who offered them a place to live after the wedding. They could have use of the family's basement. That's not ideal, no, but it was a way to make sure that Donna had a roof over her head and their granddaughter would have one too when she was born, right? Now, in the beginning, this might have felt like a wise move. Mark got arrested even before Doreen was born, and it was one of the many times he would in his life. And he was in jail as Donna's due date was nearing. So from his cell, Mark wrote to the judge and asked for some clemency. He was hoping to be in home in time for Doreen's birth.
So, I have so many questions now.
Okay.
Like, did her parents know that he had he been arrested before they made them get married?
I don't believe he has a record from before then. No.
Okay.
But he's
imagine how awful you'd feel.
Like, whoa.
Why did I make my daughter marry this guy?
Right.
Also, what was he arrested for?
Oh, God. So ridiculous. Trying to steal money from a payphone.
Wait, like the coins inside of?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. That's
like sort of a low level, but also weird.
It's weird. It's weird because I feel like there's a better way to get a few quarters.
Right. Like, what exactly were we going
kindly
for
ask
there?
for 50 cents.
Yeah. Like, oh, right. Okay. So, things are not going great, right? So he's hoping to be home for Doreen's birth. The judge actually listens to him and lets him out. Now, Mark's arrest pales in comparison to what Donna's younger sisters, ages 13 and 11, would later confess to their parent. The two younger sisters, they shared a large bed in a room upstairs. They alleged that Mark started sexually abusing them both. As an adult, one of the sisters would later tell reporters, I'd hear him coming. I couldn't sleep. It started. I can't remember the first encounter, but I remember he used to sneak into the bed, and I remember he used to touch me on top. All he had on was underwear, and he was on top of me. I was the one who stopped it. I don't know how far he would have went.
Okay, so there's a ton of problems with Mark.
Right. So this is their allegations. Like, they tell their parents, and he's kicked out of the house. And this abuse, as so often happens, was not reported to police. So they remain allegations because there's no, corroborating evidence from the police on this case.
Also, yeah. So we're calling them allegations just because that's what
Legally speaking,
they are. But I have no reason to doubt an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old on what they're saying, especially as they get older and
yeah. So these are
part of their,
these are what they're telling reporters as adults, right? Of their experience of their childhood and their experience with him.
Why would anyone make that up?
So, no.
Yeah.
Because of a lot of things, it does not take long for this marriage to just fall apart. And by 1978, Donna was long done with Mark, and the two separated and, divorced. Donna told the Sticky Beaks podcast that he still attempted to rekindle the relationship with her. He pressed her to reconsider, remarrying him. But, she was not budging. This was not the guy for her. Now, throughout the early 80s, Mark was in and out of jails for various crimes from arson to burglary, some of which were actually federal crimes, like weapons charges. At some point, as he was in and out of prison, he found religion, becoming a born-again Christian, and this becomes a big part of his life going forward. And in 1984, he married his second wife, Sharon. The two would go on to have 2 children together.
Now, is she also religious?
She is religious, or she was religious. Okay. She has since passed away. But yes, so Sharon and him are religious. Some people actually even called their relationship or said it seemed like a kind of almost religiously arranged marriage.
Okay.
Yeah. But religion was a key component that brought the two of them together. In the meantime, Doreen moved back and forth between her parents, but her experience at each household was vastly different. Though everyone said Mark doted on Doreen publicly, his household was strict and authoritarian. He also believed in corporal punishment, something that Sharon supported, so spanking, those kinds of things. And all 3 of the kids experienced spanking even from a young age, so this is part of their core understanding of parenting. On the other hand, Donna's house had fewer rules, less supervision, and while it was a more relaxed household, there were allegations that one of Donna's boyfriend's brother showed Doreen at some point porn. Now, like many preteens, Doreen is a mix of contradictions. She loved clothes, she kept a journal, she covered her walls with magazine clippings, she was funny, bright, and creative, but she also pushed boundaries at school, at home, and especially under Mark's roof.
It's imagine being brought up in 2 wildly different households.
Mm-hmm.
How confusing it would be, knowing what you should be doing at any given point.
Right.
Within the 2 homes.
Yeah. And so she's younger than 12.
Yeah,
all this is going on.
So confusing.
Yeah. So, her experiences are vastly different.
Mm-hmm.
She has these interactions with this, essentially, uncle who is showing her porn. Things are just really weird and hard for her.
Yeah.
Now, Doreen, she runs away several times when she's at Mark's house, and she always ends up back at Donna's. And each time, Donna kind of has to call Mark to come and get her when he has custody of her, right? But Donna didn't agree with what was happening in Mark's home. Once, she actually picked Doreen up from school without Mark's permission and put her on a plane to Florida to stay with some relatives. Now, Mark was furious. He was convinced that Donna was trying to take Doreen away from him, which is...
That's fair.
Fair, right? On the other hand, she wanted to get Doreen out of whatever situation she was experiencing in his house, right? It was really one more fracture in a very already splintered family. Eventually, Mark gets her back. Doreen does not stay in Florida. She returns home. And he enrolls her at the Westwood Christian School, where the rules are stricter, the environment's more controlled. This is exactly the kind of thing that he would have wanted, right? Now, 10 days before she disappeared, Doreen moved into Mark and Sharon's farmhouse that they had just started renting on Whirlwind Hill Road.
So all this is really recent too.
In terms of?
Like in terms of the change at the school and the change of Mark's home?
Yeah. So, essentially there's a lot going on, but at some point she moves in with him and he enrolls her into this school. So it's a change of house, it's a change of schooling. Like there's a lot going on all at once, right? And a vastly different landscape than she's used to. I mean, like, it's hard to think of, like, Connecticut cities, but, like, to go from, like, a place where there's stores and you can walk to your friends, there's sidewalks, there's all kinds of stuff, like, within walking distance to, like, legit, like, a very rural road. Like, I always Google Maps, like, places, and it's even now pretty desolate out there. Now, on June 15th, 1988. Again, this is just like 10 days after they moved to this farmhouse. Sharon, she goes to church services with her kids and she leaves Mark and Doreen at home. Tensions had been high in the farmhouse since the move. Sharon knew that Doreen had been unhappy, restless even. She talked it up to how vastly different Wallingford was from Waterbury or Bridgeport. Like those are the two cities that Doreen had lived in and had preferred living in. The countryside, again, it's long stretches of cornfields and dirt roads. It felt isolating to a city kid. Doreen had no nearby friends, no sidewalks to walk. Like, there's just very little for her to do out there. And Sharon said she could start to see the boredom settling in. But the friction between them ran deeper than geography. Despite the fact that Sharon had been in Doreen's life for years, the two had never really bonded. Sharon often thought of Doreen as a bad influence on her own kids, and sometimes she and Mark would separate them by sending Doreen to her room or keeping her away from the others. And when Doreen got out of line, and we're talking days, like of
days where she couldn't be with her siblings?
Yeah, like in the same household, but like no interaction between them. That week, things had been worse than usual. Likely the 10 days Doreen had been living with them had felt like an eternity for Sharon. Mark had punished Doreen by burning her journal, the one that had all of her magazine clippings. So when the chance for a night out arose and a few quiet hours at a church service came up, Sharon took it. But when Sharon returned home around 11:30 p.m., she was surprised to find that Mark was the only one home and the house was eerily quiet. When she asked after Doreen, Mark said that he had seen her in the kitchen around 8 p.m. and that he'd gone to his workshop for a bit. At 9 p.m., he had come back into the house to find the front door ajar. Going upstairs, he said he found Doreen's room empty. But the first sense of unease rolled through Sharon when she saw Doreen's room. There was glass in one of her windows that was broken. Mark looked ashamed when he admitted what happened, that the two had gotten into an argument and he'd shoved her and Doreen had accidentally broken the window. That wasn't necessarily surprising to Sharon. She knew that Doreen could be what she called kind of a fighter, often struggling against any of the spankings that she was set to receive. It likely then wouldn't have been surprising that something like a broken window could have happened in the course of, some sort of punishment. But as Sharon stood in the doorway, something else unsettled her. The front door, the one that Mark had said had been left open, had a deadbolt that locked from the inside with a key. And Sharon was the only one who had the key.
So that door had never been open that night? So it was basically like, so they obviously don't use the front door.
No. So even looking at the farmhouse now, like you can tell that front door is not the main entry point.
It's so weird he would say the front door. Why wouldn't he say the door that they use?
Exactly. Like, why is that the door? So most everyone entered this house from the side. And honestly, it looks like they still do. Right. And it just really reminds me of one of the old houses that I lived in, which had a front door and it had a sidewalk. This house does have like this like walkway that leads up to the front door. But you can absolutely tell like this is not a path of travel that people take because it leads to like a country road. Right.
Right.
Yeah. So instead people pull into the driveway and they enter in through the side.
Well, most country houses, they don't go through the front door.
Right.
I haven't been to many where you do.
Where you go through the front door.
They're just there for like, it's ornamental, maybe a fire escape. But besides that, it's not something anybody ever uses.
No.
I grew up in the country, so I thinking back, it's like, no. But also just, why would he completely omit the part about the glass? He knows she's going to see it at some point.
Yeah. I mean, there is some evidence based on witness testimony from, again, I highly recommend if you really want to deep dive into kind of some more nitty gritty stuff, the Sticky Beaks podcast, that he might have been trying to repair it before she got home. But yeah, so there's a lot going on here. Like things just aren't clicking together quite right.
Right.
Now, things get weirder, if possible. So soon after Sharon gets home, Mark leaves, and he said he was going to go look for Doreen. The idea here is that Doreen has once again run away, and this time has tried to get back to her mother's house.
Right. Again, they got into like an argument. She runs off through the front door.
Right. And she's gone.
Yeah.
But again, Doreen is now a substantial distance away from her mother, right? Like, we're not talking about like something that a 12-year-old would be very easily able to get to the town her mom lived in.
Right. And it's at night.
Right?
Okay. It's dark, I'm guessing.
So we're in June, so it's like...
Oh, maybe it would have been just getting dark at... Well, it gets dark at like 8.
Well, Sharon gets home at 11:30, so it's dark by the time Sharon gets home, right? And he doesn't leave until Sharon gets there. Anyway, hours pass. He says he's gone to look for her, but he comes back empty-handed. And not long after, he takes the phone off the wall. So he takes it off the hook. So this is back in the single phone household kind of days, right? And he tells Sharon he doesn't want Donna, quote unquote, bothering them. Wait, Doreen's mom.
Right. But was Donna trying to reach him at some point? And she couldn't...
Well, so Donna had called earlier that day, right, to say, hey, I'm going to pick her up on Friday, which is several days away. But, you know, if something comes up, I won't be able to do so. So Donna had called earlier. She was set to call again, probably on Friday. Or they were set to see her on Friday, right? So there is no way for Donna to get through, which... if you think about it, makes absolutely no sense. Your daughter is missing, and you cut off the only way someone can reach you.
Right. So, like, what if
the police are calling? What if
she did get back to Donna, and now you're looking for no reason?
Right. Like, what if Doreen gets to Donna's house? Donna in the past had called to tell Mark that their daughter had arrived at her house, right?
It just doesn't make sense.
What if Doreen, like, regrets what she did, like, needs to call home and ask for a ride? Like, your kid is missing. Cutting off the phone? Absolutely no sense. Another thing that Mark didn't do, which is he didn't call the police.
Again.
Then again, neither did Sharon.
Huh. Those other times that she did run away, did they call the police?
I don't get the sense that happened. I get the sense that, you know, she would have called and said, you know, Doreen showed up at my house.
Okay.
But also, again, like, she's much further away than she had been in the past.
And it's night.
Yeah. And days go by and you haven't heard from her. So by the time that Donna pulls into the driveway on Whirlwind Hill Road that Saturday, Doreen has been missing for at least 3 days. Now, despite Mark's reputation for being an overprotective parent, Donna remembers him as being almost casual that day. When she told him she didn't have Doreen, his expression didn't change. He didn't panic. There was no sense of urgency. She had to actually pressure him to make a report to the Wallingford police. When he finally did, Mark insisted Doreen had run away. He claimed she'd taken about $50 and some clothes and that she'd probably gone back to Waterbury or Bridgeport.
It's almost like he's just trying to pretend like this is like a normal thing. Oh, yeah, she just ran away.
Like,
I'm just going to stay calm. Whatever.
Yeah.
She'll turn up.
Now, Donna says at the time she tried to give her own statement to police, explaining how she tried to call all week and that she knew her daughter's habits. But police refused to take her statement. They said they didn't want any conflicting statements on record. Now, because Mark had labeled her a runaway, the investigation stayed on that track. And it's true, Doreen did have a history of running away. And it's also true that she'd hated the move to Wallingford. It really made for an easy narrative, maybe too easy, right? But while Wallingford is small, it wasn't unfamiliar with missing kids. In 1988, roughly 100 children went missing in all of Connecticut each month, and many came from rural towns just like this one. Most were found in a matter of days, sometimes hours, and they said at the time that when teens did run away, they turned up in bigger cities like Bridgeport, Hartford, Waterbury, not New York City, which is what they said at the time. Everyone assumed that they would just run away to New York City and not far away necessarily, right? We had Doreen's connections in two of those cities, right? Bridgeport and Waterbury. Police had presumed that she'd resurface at a friend's or relative's house within a few days. But then the days turned into weeks and the weeks turned into months, and Doreen never came home. We'll be back in a moment.
Did they ever end up searching like the house or the area around the house?
I don't get the sense that they did initially, right? I mean, what is interesting is the Wallingford police do later say, oh yeah, we were suspicious of Mark's story from the start, but I don't really get that sense based on their sort of trajectory in this case, right? They do treat it as a runaway case. Like, they're searching the towns that they said that she might have gone to.
I feel like if they were suspicious from the start, they would have taken Donna's statement and they would have searched his property.
Yeah.
Just two, like, really simple things to do. Mm-hmm. So they didn't think that from the beginning. They just thought she was a runaway.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Their suspicions don't actually seem to sharpen until months have passed with no word from Doreen. So when she doesn't show up at the friend's house or a relative's house or in any of the usual places, they started to take a closer look at Mark's story. They wanted to revisit it with him, go over his reports, maybe even get a formal interview with him. So they've not done a formal interview with him. It's just been a statement about her being missing. But by 1989, Mark was long gone from Whirlwind Hill Road. The family had scattered. Sharon and the kids were easy enough to find. Mark wasn't. The couple had split the summer before. That's just months after Doreen goes missing because something had fractured that family, like pretty badly.
Was it this disappearance? Does Sharon ever say?
Sharon's statements seem to have been like still very like kind of protective of Mark even after the case. Like, he is the father of two of her children.
Mm-hmm. Also, what if she's scared of him?
Which is also a possibility, right?
When one of his kids disappears in a really strange way, and then she's still got two of his kids.
Yeah.
It could be a really scary thing for her.
Mm-hmm. Now, to be clear, at this point, when investigators are like, we want to take a closer look at this, like, they cannot locate Mark. They have no idea where he is. Right? So they search both Donna and Sharon's homes, hoping to find anything that could help them retrace Doreen's steps. Now, Donna, she welcomes them in. She and her sisters had been searching for months, desperate for answers. Like, they're on the ground themselves looking for her. Mark had left a lot of Doreen's belongings behind when he left that house. Sharon gave many of those items to Donna, which included like furniture, curtains, pieces of Doreen's room. Sharon said, though, that Mark had thrown away Doreen's bedspread, claiming, quote, Doreen messed it up.
That's a weird thing to say.
Mm-hmm. So they're able to search Donna's house, look through those items that had been at the home when Doreen disappeared. But when the police went to go search Sharon's house, like, she shut them out. Unlike Donna, she refused to allow them to search Doreen's things. On July 10th, 1989, police executed a search warrant on Donna's house as well as her brother's house. And there, among the boxes and bags, they did find something that didn't fit Mark's story. Some of Doreen's clothing. The same clothing he said she had been wearing the night she disappeared. Now, the police do eventually locate Mark, not through some sort of elite investigative tactics, I want to make that clear, but because they were called on a domestic dispute between him and his new partner, who he had been living with, which is why they couldn't find him. He was staying with a new lady. Now, by the time they execute a search warrant, Mark has moved in with his mother in Bethel. So the two, like him and his new partner, had split. So they find him in Bethel with his mom. He'd been staying there for a few weeks, and when they search the house, combing over it, looking for Doreen's things, they're able to find her birth certificate, something that they'd been looking for, but they also discovered a gun in the garage. It had been hidden in a paper bag below some articles of clothing and shoved between some wall studs. There had been some other guns in the house, but Mark's mother said that those were her guns. And the gun in the garage, though, was a different story. It was registered to Sharon. And Mark had those federal convictions and was barred from owning or possessing guns. Now, later, Mark would argue that the seizure of the gun from this house, shouldn't have happened, that the gun was not listed on the search warrant. This would later go all the way to the state Supreme Court, who affirmed that this was allowable and Mark should not have been in possession of a gun.
Why wouldn't they seize a gun that is registered to somebody else found in the wrong home?
Right.
And did Sharon ever say that that was indeed her gun?
I don't know if Sharon made a statement specifically about that, but we do know that, he had her gun. There's no way that his mom could have, claimed it as hers because it was clearly registered to Sharon. Yeah.
But it's just, of course they can, yeah.
Now, this is a big violation, right? He has these federal charges against him. He's not supposed to own the gun. The state Supreme Court said, hey, them taking the gun, finding the gun, and arresting you was perfectly fine. And he ends up with 2 years in prison for this gun possession. But that search led to two developments that mattered far more to Doreen's case. The first, and takes a little bit of explaining. They take with them to this search this man named Paul O'Connell. And Paul is important for a couple of reasons. Paul is an officer, but with the Department of Environmental Conservation. So he's in charge of things like environmental crimes, right?
Okay.
He was out at the Collis P. Huntington State Park, which is near Bethel, which is near where Mark's mother lives.
Okay, so it's not near the farmhouse.
It's near where
Mark's mom lives.
Right? Okay. And so he's out there in late summer or early fall. He can remember this is after Doreen disappeared.
Is he out there for any particular reason, or?
This is kind of his beat, if you will.
Okay, right? So he's just doing his rounds.
He's doing his rounds. He's doing his thing, making sure no one's committing crimes in, state parks. Now, Paul, he is there and he's patrolling this state park when he sees a man in the dark pulling something heavy from the bed of a pickup truck.
Did he not go over and look?
Okay, well, he does. This is his first glimpse, right? So he's patrolling. Right?
It's just the most suspicious thing that you set up. He's patrolling and then he sees this very...
I mean, this is the exact thing that
weird scene.
Paul is there to protect the forest from dumping of things illegally, right?
Right, exactly. That's what we're here for.
Okay. But keep in mind, it's nighttime, it's dark, right? He's at a distance.
I just didn't let you finish, so
yes.
I'll let you finish. Okay, keep going.
He can't really see the man's face again because it's dark. Right? Yeah. He does see that the man is carrying the object in a way his arms are out, kind of like you might carry a roll of carpet or say a child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, as Paul approached the scene, the man runs off. Paul ends up calling in the truck's plate number, but didn't involve the state police, right? So he hasn't exactly witnessed a crime that would warrant a call to the state police.
So did he leave the truck there and just run away with the bundle?
Yes.
On foot?
Yes. We're in the woods. Have some sympathy for Paul.
Paul.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this whole thing, really struck him as weird and strange. So, he calls in this truck plate number. He writes down everything he remembers about the truck after he's been at the scene. So dents, markings, even the description of a homemade toolbox that was bolted to the bed of the truck, right? Now, again, this doesn't go anywhere because no crime has been committed, right? It's just a guy in the woods at night.
Carrying a suspicious bundle and running from an officer when he sees him?
Right.
That's all.
Okay. So this just gets put down in his notes. Okay. Now, somehow the Wallingford police hear about it and they wonder, could this truck belong to Mark? It's in Bethel or near Bethel, which is close to his mom's house. He's very familiar with this area, right?
Mm-hmm.
He grew up near this park. He knows the area well, all these things, right? So they bring Paul along during their search of Mark's mother's house. he couldn't identify Mark as the man he saw because, again, he didn't get a good look at the man's face. He did, though, get a lot of information about the truck, right?
Okay.
And he's unwavering about these details about the truck. He says it's the same dents, the same toolbox, the same build, everything.
Okay. I mean, it kind of is like one of those, like, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, you know?
Right. Like, you want
It
Paul
just
to have
seems
done
kind of
more.
like, come on, Paul.
Right.
So you said that's the first development?
Yes. So this is the first
That's a pretty big development. What's the other one?
Okay. So, as I said before, when Doreen went missing, right, there was never an official, like, statement taken, nor did they really interview Mark, because this was just a runaway kid report. So this is the first and only interview that Mark gives with police at this time. Okay. So they're able to question him about what was going on. In this interview, he does admit that he had a volatile temper, which everyone in his life could really attest to.
Right.
But more chillingly, he admits to taking photographs of Doreen in her underwear.
He admits to... Does he admit because they find photographs?
No. But they do know that Mark really does take a lot of photographs in general.
Okay.
They never find these photographs, but he offers this information independently to them.
Weird. Such a weird thing to say, right?
Right. It is pretty bizarre. Now, Mark had been photographing constantly at this time in his life. And the woman he lived with after leaving Sharon, she told police that she had photos taken of her. I'm not sure what type. I'm guessing similar photos. And she said that she had searched his photos and she never found a single photo among his possessions.
Like none of anybody else.
Like just none.
Just,
nada.
No photos at all.
No photos at all.
Also weird.
Now, learning all of this and because of their allegations against Mark, Donna's sisters speculated that he might have done something similar to Doreen as he had to them. Right? Now, again, there's no evidence of this. This is just like what their suspicions were.
Right.
And the younger of the two sisters told reporters, "That's what made me think he did that to her. She was pretty. She looked a little older."
First off, as a side note to you, that shouldn't matter. Yeah. But also, yeah, that sentence seems blah. But anyway, it's just that there seems to be some obvious patterns with this guy's like behavior, right? I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's so weird. Why would you admit to it? And then the other woman can't find any photos. And it's just so many things that just don't seem to add up.
Right.
Also, Paul.
You wanted Paul to save the day.
I'm going to be thinking about Paul and his missed opportunity for a long time.
I think Paul's probably thinking about Paul's missed opportunity too, right?
Yeah.
Now, over the years, the search for Doreen has never fully stopped. Even as Mark got out of jail, remarried, continued on with his life. You're shaking your head.
Why do people marry people like this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
We don't marry these men.
Right. It's the third wife was with him for quite a long time, 20 years.
Yeah.
So, he goes about, he continues his life. Again, this happened in 1988, right? His name, though, is never far from the police files. And each year, investigators circled back to Doreen's case. And each year, his past is kind of shadowing him. In 2001, so quite a long time later, Mark's mother, Lori, spoke to reporters. The Bethel police had shown up at her door again, something that she had said is almost routine. They came every year to talk to her, and they were asking her yet again if she remembered anything new. Now, Lori had her own complicated relationship with her son, Mark. They weren't always on speaking terms, though she insisted it didn't have anything to do with Doreen's disappearance. It had to do with other disagreements between them. Still, she was one of the few people to see Mark shortly after Doreen went missing. So the weekend after Doreen went missing was Father's Day weekend, and Mark came to Lori's house, and then after that visited a family friend. He didn't mention to Lori that Doreen was missing. Now, later he said that he hadn't told his mother because she and Doreen weren't close. But for the record, he didn't tell the family friend either. Like you would think with something so big as your daughter being missing.
Right. Like, why are we not talking about this?
Yeah. Now, Lori, she would come to understand why police focused so much on Mark. But after so many years, she wanted them to look elsewhere too. She told reporters, I can't sit and say the police don't know what the hell they're doing. I think they should be looking elsewhere. But then you get down to what they should have done. I don't know. I don't blame them. You can only go with what you have. But yeah, they should look elsewhere. People usually want things wrapped up in a neat package. Good, bad, or indifferent. You want to know.
She had a complicated relationship with him, but she also didn't believe he would have done this.
So I think she has a complicated relationship with him. I don't know if she would necessarily say that she didn't believe he was capable of doing something.
She's like, they should be looking elsewhere, but
I think what she's saying is like, after so long and you've still not come up with something else, could you try something different?
okay.
Right.
It seems like it would be hard for a mom, though, because like by admitting that your kid did something, you're admitting kind of that, like in that kind of weird way that moms take responsibility for their kids and everything they do. She might be admitting that she, in a way, did it, you know?
Well, because like
It's so hard.
the world expects so much of moms. Like when your kid does something bad, like who gets blamed? It's like, oh, so-and-so didn't, it's always the mom who gets mentioned.
Right. Like she didn't raise him, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think I'm wondering if it's not her just being blind to it, but also her feeling, having feelings about this.
Yeah. So I don't get the impression, I wouldn't say that she's ignoring the possibility,
Okay.
but definitely more of the line of, after so many years of this same investigation and they've made no headway, should they look at other possibilities?
Right.
I mean, like earlier you said, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, right? But sometimes
Yeah.
it's not a duck.
I know,
right?
But I mean, that's where, so you look at the thing that looks most closely like a duck as possible first, in my opinion. And then we move out from there.
Yeah.
Like just rule that out, get that out of the way, move on.
Yeah. So she's saying like, maybe it's not a duck,
Yeah.
right?
But I don't think we fully explored whether or not it's a duck yet.
Right. Now, police, they did actually explore, at least for some time, some other paths. So Mark has not been the only person that they've kept their eye on.
Okay.
Now, police had, at least for some time, explored other paths. In 1992, they actually turned their attention to a suspected serial killer. Suspected because they know that he has killed 2 people. They believe he could have killed more. His name is Haddon Clark. He had moved up and down the East Coast for years. And he eventually would be convicted of the murders of 6-year-old Michelle Dorr and 23-year-old Laura Hodling.
Oh, that's quite a
Age difference.
age difference.
Yeah.
Also, so in the past, we've talked about serial killers and how they won't say that they're a serial killer until there's like 3 or more.
Mm-hmm.
So they just basically know that this guy has other victims that they don't know about. And these are the 2 confirmed ones.
Yeah,
So is that basically what they're...
So he has been convicted of the murders of Michelle and Laura.
Okay.
Right, so that's 2
For sure.
for sure. He has confessed and talked about killing other people, though it doesn't really seem like he has a great memory about those.
Do we know like how many?
Probably maybe around 10 people is kind of...
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. Now, because like he talked about like what he remembered from various people, and one of the places that he talked about was murdering someone in Connecticut, right?
Okay.
So these murders take place between like 1970 and 1992. Okay.
I mean, if you hadn't told me like all the weird stuff about Mark, this would seem like
the
it answer, right?
right.
But
Now,
just because you're like, oh, like the sisters and the photos and the just like he's always so overprotective and now he doesn't care.
yeah, there's
It's
a lot
just
going
so
on here. So this is
much.
like the police were like, could it be something else, right?
Right. Like this would sound exactly like, especially with this weird range of ages.
Mm-hmm. Now, Clark, when he was in custody, he talks about, again, killing a girl in Connecticut, specifically in the Meriden area.
Mm-hmm.
And police do ask him about Doreen. But again, I don't get the sense that his memory of whatever happened is really great. And they even took him to the Meriden site where he said he had left the body. They don't find a body there, right? So there's nothing connects it. Like there's no physical evidence, no clear details, there's no resolution here. So yeah, you know, they don't have much on whoever this person might be, whether it's Doreen or somebody else. They've got nothing. And for Doreen, though, that means that, as so often happens, kind of these promising leads just kind of dissolve into more dead ends in her case, right?
Yeah, and then just in the meantime, like, so we still don't know where Doreen is, but then now there's these other girls.
Yeah, like who are those other girls?
Not accounted for.
Yeah.
Where are they?
Now, Doreen's story, again, this is the kind of story that really just could have faded quietly into the past, right? Like, this is a preteen girl. She was labeled as a runaway. She was gone in the night. It's like kind of the case that like rarely makes headlines. But her story like just didn't disappear. Like there are 2 podcasts, one Faded Out by Sarah DeMeo and Sticky Beak by Jessica Fritz Aguiar, and they have kept her name alive. They're bringing attention back to this girl who has been missing for decades, right? They came across her story and they wanted to cover it. Now, in 2021, police end up following a new lead. They spoke to Kathy, who's Mark's 3rd wife, who was at this point in 2021 estranged from him. Over their 20 years of marriage, she says he had mentioned Doreen's disappearance only a handful of times. Kathy's recollections led investigators to Teen Challenge, which is a Christian substance abuse program for teens with offices in Connecticut and Johnson, Vermont, where Mark and Sharon's son, Paul, were both working. So
Mark worked there?
Mark worked there, and Paul, who is his son with Sharon, worked there as well. So they're up in Vermont at this point.
So he's working in a program for teens?
Yes, like a Christian teen program.
Okay. Kind of just wild that somebody who like possibly had all these things around teens is working with teenagers.
Yeah, I mean, so this actually, like, this makes me think a lot of things. Like,
I know, because like he wasn't like actually like nothing was proven about it, right? So like, what can you do? You can't stop somebody's life on that. I get it. But at the same time, for like the things that they're saying about like him admitting to taking the photos, I think would be enough to just be like oh, red flag.
But also he has like federal weapons charges,
right?
Like,
right. It's the federal weapons charges. And then like the things, it's just so hard
to... You know, there's parts in job applications where they're like, have you ever been convicted of a crime? Right? Like he has a history.
Right.
Like, even if the allegations specifically about abuse have never been...
But he's got other things that could be, right? Like,
yeah.
This just seems weird.
Okay. So...
How many times have I said this seems weird in this episode?
There's a lot that is weirdness. So the police, they talk to Kathy. They find out where he is. He's in Vermont, right? And Johnson, Vermont is so cute. Anyway, that was an aside. But on January 26, 2022, police go to Johnson and they speak to both men, Mark and Paul. Mark seems guarded, defensive. He gives conflicting statements about Doreen's disappearance. And Paul, he was just a young kid, like a child when his half-sister vanished. And he said he didn't know what happened, but he believed his father did, and he believed the truth would never be spoken.
Like he's suspicious of his dad?
I think so. I get that sense from that statement.
But there he is working with them at a place for teens.
Right.
Is this the second Paul in our story?
Oh, yeah.
Both times I just want to be like, oh, Paul.
Yeah, this is a different Paul. This is half-brother Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it's then like this case takes a formal turn, right? Around this time, Doreen's disappearance is no longer classified as a runaway case. It's reclassified as a homicide investigation. So they believe that Doreen at some point was murdered. Now, whether it was the weight of this new classification, the renewed pressure of the police, or the attention drawn by these podcasts, Mark leaves Johnson soon after the police question him. On February 10th, Paul calls the Wallingford police. He said his father had left and he had taken Paul's gun with him. Now, not long after Mark is arrested, he's arrested in the parking lot of the Milford Christian Church, where he has connections with the pastor. On him was Paul's gun and 100 rounds of ammunition. In November, he pleaded guilty to criminal possession of a firearm and was sentenced to 6 years in prison with 3 years suspended. And so he's since been released since that time.
Did they find out what he was on his way to do?
No idea.
So he's just there with that much ammunition?
Who knows?
Okay.
Right. Now, even with all of this, police have declined to bring charges related to Doreen's disappearance against Mark, right? Like, that's not happening. So the truth of the night in 1988 remains unknown. And a 12-year-old girl has not been seen alive since. Her mother, Donna, who always called her daughter fearless, reflected years later, "You want some sort of closure. I just kind of stand by myself. I want justice to be done, and it's long overdue at this point." Now, decades have passed, the search continues, and in that silence, her story's waiting for a conclusion.
We are now going to listen to Amy's poem, Snapshot, read by Sophia Powers. Born and raised in North Vancouver, British Columbia, Sophia followed her passion and started training in acting classes at the age of 9. After landing her first agent at the Characters Talent Agency and working hard in extensive one-on-one training, she was thrilled to land her very first network role as Fox in Son of a Critch. Having the opportunity to work with kids the same age in St. John's, Newfoundland in the summer, along notable industry heavyweights such as Mark Critch and Malcolm McDowell, was a dream come true. Most recently, you can find Sophia appearing in a recurring role as Lisa on the TV series Murder in a Small Town on Fox. She has also appeared in supporting roles in the Hallmark MOW's Fourth Down and Love and Expected Grace. Sophia has gone on to film seasons 2, 3, and 4 of Son of a Critch and will be shooting season 5 next spring. Sophia is a voracious reader. She is currently writing a book which she hopes to one day turn into a screenplay and act in herself. In her spare time, on top of reading and writing, you will also find Sophia boxing, playing field hockey, snowboarding, and enjoying the outdoors with her friends, family, and her many loved animals. A dual citizen of the U.S. and Canada, Sophia spends many summers on the Oregon coast with family.
Snapshot. Doreen Vincent, 12. Missing since June 15th, 1988, from Wallingford, Connecticut. The girl with the thistle-dark hair and a mouth with a barricade of sharp teeth knows she's built from cities, built of concrete and asphalt. Every night in the dark, she clips models from magazines, twists her hips in front of a mirror slit with lipstick prints. She can only dream of dance lights, tight jeans, places where the music will drown out the noise. Outside, the cornfields rustle. A lament of night birds takes flight, and every sound is like a prayer. Every photograph, every snapshot of the camera, her fingers still reaching, caught in the frame.
For more information about our show, please visit shegoesbyjanepodcast.com.
Bye, Vanessa.
Bye, Amy.